Hi, I'm Dave, and I know comics. Do you want a superhero that isn't Carol Danvers? Do you want a superhero that isn't Superman? And do you want a superhero that can't even protect his own name? Then allow me to introduce to you my client for Dave Knows Comics Honest Promos, the real boy wonder, not Marvel, Young Justice, Captain Marvel, or Billy Batson, or also Shazam. Behold, the comic book superhero named Captain Marvel, who was making enemies out of old ladies way before Carol Danvers did. But unlike Danvers, Batson lost the legal right to use the name Captain Marvel in advertisements, even though he was the original. But that's really not all that surprising when you remember that Fawcett Comics, the company that created him, couldn't even keep him under their own banner in the first place. That's right, just like Charlton Comics and Alan Moore hits such as Watchmen and V for Vendetta, Billy Batson was originally separate from DC, but got snatched up with the speed of Mercury. And how this managed to happen is even more surprising when you realize that he used to outsell Superman and was estimated to be the highest selling comic book of all time at that point, believed to be selling 2 million copies per issue. In response to this, instead of upping their superhero game, DC Comics decided to just sue Fawcett instead, claiming that Batson was nothing more than a mere Superman ripoff. But as this legal case went on and on, eventually comic book sales would drop in the 1950s, and Fawcett decided that it really wasn't worth putting up the fight anymore. Yes, they didn't have the stamina of Atlas to keep going. DC then bought the character rights and would eventually start publishing their own Captain Marvel comics, but not before Marvel acquired the trademark rights to use the title Captain Marvel on the cover of their comic books, putting Billy Batson out of luck, needing to have his comics called Shazam, the original Captain Marvel, instead. But whoever really reads that bottom part anyhow. As a result, and after many years, Batson's new publisher would give up on him as well, by relenting and just renaming him Shazam. You don't need the wisdom of Solomon to know that that's embarrassing. But finally, after being called a ripoff of Superman and having his name ripped off by Marvel, and after spending 2 decades in suspended animation to explain his absence from comics, which is apparently a thing for comic book captains to do, Billy Batson is finally making a big live-action debut, as long as we forget about all those other times he was brought to live action. In the end, if you want a superhero that's being portrayed in film with all of the over-the-top goofy facial expressions that kids don't actually make, a superhero that proves that the Justice League really doesn't care about child labor laws, and another superhero that's enemies with Mark Strong, then allow me to introduce to you my client for Dave Knows Comics Honest Promos, the next big red cheesy superhero movie from DC, Captain Josh Baskin, the non-Marvel Marvel, Billy Batson, Captain Marvel, or Shazam. I know he didn't look the part and it's not really possible, but is anyone else curious to know what Robin Williams could have done with the character?